Good morning, everybody. It is 7:30 where I'm at on a Sunday morning, but it's well worth it because today we have TheKusari joining us today. He is the leader of Starfliers. He is an admin, and he's the banner of Stugar. Along with us today, we have our host Zentor, and we
Yo.
have Vicious Jeff with us as well.
Morning, everyone.
And
Hello,
today's
everybody.
episode is brought to you by the Starfliers. Starfliers, we are a small-scale, lawful, independent exploratory organization specializing in charting and researching stellar anomalies. Our fleet comprises of specific ships, utilizing their research and exploratory aspects to complete their specific tasks. It is an obligation of ours, put in place by our founder, not to carry arms, meaning that our ships fly through space with no offensive equipment mounted. So, if you guys are wanting to know what's going on in the system and don't have the ship to do it, contact the Starfliers. So, with that, I'll take it to Zentor to kick us off.
Yeah, welcome everybody on this wintry day, although I know it's the opposite side of the world for the Kusari. We actually attempted to do a episode about the Kusari back in the first season, but the file got corrupted or some nonsense. So we're very excited to redo this episode, and there's been a lot of development for the Kusari since then. So we're going to hand it off to him, talk about his introduction to Freelancer, his earlier times with Discovery, and what has brought him to the present day as an admin staff member.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. So I guess the very start of things when it comes to my relationship with this game was I think my dad had like a burnt CD copy of this game, and I just started playing it and playing it parallel with my dad and everything. Then after a few years, and this was ages ago, like only a handful of years after the game was released, but then I think it was maybe 5 years ago or so, I was like live streaming like a challenge run of the campaign, and someone in chat brought up this mod, and then that's sort of how I got introduced to Discovery, and then just played around with that, of course, and then tried out a few things, learning about the staff and the devs and everything along the way, and now, of course, at the end of it, running my own official faction and being an admin at the end of it. Well, currently, at least. To sort of summarize it.
So when that person contacted you on the stream or in the chat, do you know this person? Are they still active? Do you fly with them today?
No, as far as I know, they were another person who just knew of Freelancer, just of the campaign. They're just a random viewer. I don't know them any more than that.
Oh, gotcha. All right, good deal.
So yeah, you've had a very unique time, I would think, on Discovery. Your path in starting your faction has been one pretty exclusive, I think, in the way it operates. What made you feel motivated to do a faction of that type, being so different?
So I guess the start of the Starfliers was more the mechanics surrounding like the jump drives and stuff way back when, where you had to like survey the coordinates, and then like others had to use those coordinates to jump to that that area that you surveyed, using that long string, I guess. I liked doing that, and that was the beginning of the faction. I was flying my Bustard, just doing that for people. And then after spending a lot of time in Discovery and like learning, the scientific data mining, and then the ore mining, and then the player bases, and just all the little elements there, I liked role playing the more exploratory and research side of things, like the scientific side, because to me, at least when it comes to this game, that's the thing that I've chosen to do, or that I find the most enjoyment doing. So then from there, from the Bustard, I then started sort of spreading it out a little bit, adding more ships and stuff to then build the Starfliers. The whole no weapons thing was more because I live in Australia and my ping is really shit, so I can't PvP. So why fight when I can't fight anyway? So I
Right,
was just
right.
like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go take away my weapons because I can't shoot anyone anyway.
Nice. Nice way to make it work there. Yeah, it seems like right about the time that I was leaving the last time with Discovery, what is it, 5.0 or whatever, like the Earhart and the unknown systems would be really kind of leaning in towards your sort of gameplay. Although they did massively change the way jumps and coordinates and all that stuff worked, simplifying it quite a bit. But how has that like impacted your faction?
There was uh I designed my faction in a sense that like it was at least one specific task, and we'll use the jump drive coordinate surveying thing as an example here, is that I had two ships paired up, whereas like one transport and one, I think it was a Corvo that had the survey module attached, and it was designed to be like a group activity. Like you would be working with one other person to then carry the fuel and then do the surveys. And now since 5.0 hit, where that was all turned off and the jump drive mechanics were changed, that took away one of the tasks for us, one of the things that we could do as a group, which I did not like very much, if I'm being honest. But I'm working on other things for the faction, like other tidbits and things like that, other exclusive things, other custom equipment, other bits and pieces where it would make up for that loss kind of thing. And I do have a something that I do want to share because it is current, it is in the game right now. In regards to that, it's that for the anomaly scanners for scientific data mining. For people who are familiar with that, you have to go get batteries and go to an anomaly site and mine the anomalies and then sort of make a return trip to get more batteries to repeat that.
Hmm.
But for me, under the official faction Starfliers, I've obtained 3 scanners that are infinite anomaly scanners. So you don't need batteries to operate them. You can just sit
Oh
there at the
man.
site and continuously mine them. And on top of that, this is now an extension to my player base, is that I've now special role-played, requested, or it's a custom factory for my player base that no one else has, that allows me to make those same scanners. So
Nice.
I could effectively sell them to people if I wanted to as well.
That's pretty dope,
I
actually.
I love that for 2 reasons. The first reason, and it was something we talked about the last episode. For a pretty good length of time, we talked about official faction perks, and that right there is a perfect example of an official faction perk that helps your faction out specifically. I don't feel like it breaks anything. It imbalances it a little bit, but that's you paid the price through roleplay, and that's my point number 2 is you did this through roleplay, which I think is awesome. It stories like this, it anytime I think that the roleplay aspect of the community is dying off or is dead, and then I'll hear something like that, it kind of rejuvenates me and reminds me that role players are still out there. And I don't know how long you've been working on this specific role play. I assume what a year or two, if not more.
For the scanners, I mean, I do have everything documented in an index here, so I could probably like click a button and find out.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I seem to remember some talk about this a long, long time ago.
Okay,
yeah,
here you go. So from the anomaly scanner has been since working on it since the 16th of December 23, so over a year. And the custom factory for my base has been since the 20th of April last year. So
nice.
a few months for both.
Yeah, but it takes some time, and I think what a lot of players they get disheartened when they think if they just pencil whip something after a couple weeks, and then they should be able to get their shiny toy, and that's not always the case. And it took you over a year to get the stuff, and you finally got it. And Yeah,
I like that
that's
it's something
awesome.
so custom tailored for what he's doing too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm working on more things now that it's an actual custom factory. Is that I'm now brainstorming other pieces of equipment that I can make under that factory that still no one else would be able to make. So that's now the goal of this faction, is like introducing more scientifically tailored equipment for us to make. Um, all all and this is what it all comes down to. It's all in the name of trying to get this faction canonized in Discovery. Is I'm trying to like push out all this material, all this equipment and everything to the point where it's like we are canonized because of the sheer stuff that we've put out. If that makes sense.
No, that's
Nice.
awesome.
That's the goal here. Is I want this faction canonized, and I will do literally everything I can to make that happen.
I feel like that is the pinnacle of factiondom right there, is making it canonized and recognized within the lore of Freelancer itself. And so, from what I understand, there's only one faction currently that has been canonized that's still around us to some degree, and that's Bristol. Has there been any other faction that's been canonized?
I
Uh,
don't think so. Other
I can't
than
really mention as an admin.
yeah,
I can't mention any. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that and so when I think of you and I think about Discovery and when you joined back in what, 2020?
I would say so. Yeah. What was my join date? It's a good
that's when
question.
I
Actually,
joined.
I don't quite remember. Yeah, May of
I think it's
2020.
yeah, I feel like that's such a short amount of time. We're here at the beginning of 2025 and you've already got a faction. You've got numbers to the faction. You have a big badass POB. You've got perks that are coming your way. Um, I would say to anyone listening, if you're looking to do anything with Discovery as far as concreting your body of work, you look at Kusari and look at what he's done. I think you set a really good example of what to do, and how to not only the work you do with the role play, but also how you carry yourself and how you promote your faction. And yeah, there's I like the joke you have. You put certain places that Starflyers #1 best faction, but it's but you do it more as a you want to be serious. Of course, you want to promote Starflyers, but you do it more as a joke and you're not I feel like you're not um favoring Starflyers over other factions, especially as an admin. So I would say that if anyone's looking to do any big projects, Kusari is you're a good example to look at for that.
Oh, thanks.
Yep, very welcome. So here's a good question then. So if you had a good ping, if you had good connection, and you didn't live in dirty Kangarooville,
Jesus
Banned.
Christ.
banned again, got banned again. I
Oh,
can't keep my
dude.
mouth shut. Um, would you add weapons? Would you change Starflyers? Would you even want to make another new faction?
Would it have more of a military perspective or
Are you saying like if I joined Discovery, if I was like living in Europe, for example?
Yeah,
if you had
I
access to PvP in a decent way?
I'd say that my faction is in a unique spot, being without weapons.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't add them on. Like I
Mhm.
am very uh I don't know what the word is, but like I can be agreeable to certain aspects to change the faction to go a certain way. But the one thing I'm going to be like very hard no on is we will never equip weapons.
Mhm. Yeah, remember a couple years ago whenever I was trying to play a Corsair outlaw character, I was approaching Starflyers and trying to make you guys break the rules of ignoring the sovereign territories of the gas miner guild, I think it was. Like trying to get you to go survey out there whenever they have like exclusive no surveying or whatever. And I was like trying to bribe you guys into into surveying it for me. Oh my gosh. But no, Starflyers held true to their word and obeying all the laws and being good boys.
Yeah, and then we're
So,
friends with the Oxo, so
yeah,
So
that's not easy to do. Good job.
so with the changes that they've made to the hyperdrives and stuff, is business good as far as the game server side, or would you say Starflyers is mostly focused on the role play through the forum and in game?
it is. I'd like to think of it as more of like a 30-60 kind of thing. 60% of it is. I think this is mostly speaking from how I operate with the faction, but being because I'm living in Australia, the time zones are a bitch, and they
Yeah.
don't allow me to like roleplay with people in game unless I wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which I'm not going to do. So for me personally, it's more of a maybe like a 30-70 kind of thing, where it's like 70% on the forums, 30% of it's in game. Ideally, I'd like people to, join in where they have fresh ideas, and of course, other time zones where they can, mess around and role playing things. But yeah, it's. I mean, in terms of like the getting contracts and stuff to do the surveying and things, I mean, we did get a handful a few months ago, but it's not a lot. We have other ways of just like role playing and being active, I guess. But the one thing I'm going to disagree on, in one of the points you brought up before, Stugar, is when you said we have the numbers. We certainly do not. It's mostly just like 3 people who play the faction.
But that's all you need. That's the requirements, unless you have any more secrets to tell as far as faction requirements.
Like
Action
the like the
overhaul.
like the official faction overhaul. That is an ongoing thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So that's not really so much of a secret. There's a thread that was put up on the forum, and I have to give kudos to you and C Panda, who I don't think I've ever met C Panda before, moderator on the forum, um, and again, good example of staff members engaging with the community, answering questions. It's perfectly acceptable. C Panda responded, basically saying that. So yeah, this was in the quarterly check thread, and I had made the comment about official faction perks, and is there any talks of revamping those, getting those changed? And CPANA basically said that changes are in the works, more to come, and that's that's all we needed. That's hope. That's hope right there. So yeah, so I'm sure. Unfortunately, I think anything that Kusari can share with us may change within a month or so. So I
Well,
don't.
I mean, the only thing I would have to add to that is make sure your team of faction overhaul are devout listeners of the podcast, because we've definitely thrown some good ones out there, some total banger ideas.
Yes.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
all I'm going to say is that I had put in uh, I had put in sort of a particular system when it comes to the perks, but the biggest thing when it comes to the official faction rework, without giving too much away, I suppose, is that we are looking at it in the angle of what other things, like what more things can we ask of official factions, because it's very easy to become official and it's very easy to remain official. So the idea is to just, I suppose, eliminate the lower rung official factions to the point where what remains are ones that are deserving of the title.
Yeah. I
Like
always
that's
felt that
sort
it
of
pretty
what we're.
much. Go ahead.
That's the angle we want to play. Is like, what can we ask of official factions in terms of activity, roleplay, projects, challenges, storylines, like whatever they've got going on. If all of that effort and material and stuff will carry them to continue to be official, like that's what we want to get out of official factions. What they get in return, that's a different conversation. But we want to ask what we can get out of them first. That's the main goal here with the rework.
Right. Yeah. Community growth, community involvement. Yeah. Yeah. I always felt that you pretty much have to go one of two ways with the official faction pathway going forward. You either get rid of them to the point where there's no longer this like status that we're official and we matter more than you or whatever, or you have to make them to where they're actually engaging and worth it to go through all the effort and sustain the effort, you know. Um, and I know it's a two-way street. You have to be able to contribute to the community in a way that is meaningful and impactful and keep doing that in order to continue with Discovery's future. But also it really has to be worth it. And I don't know how much has changed over the last year, but I know before it was pretty sad and there wasn't a lot of engagement and a lot of it felt like staff interaction with actually taking care of these perks and making sure that there's this way of communicating between staff and factions to keep it going. So that's good that they're working on it.
Yeah, it's definitely good. And also, you know, part of what you're talking about, Kusari, is the factions and the community working hand in hand. You know, what can the factions do for us? What can the factions do for the community? Because I do think that there is a place for official factions, and because every major game out there, whether it's World of Warcraft, uh, Guild Wars, whatever it is, there's clans and there's guilds. As a new player, when you enter into a new space, you look at, well, who are the top guys? Who are the people that are here that can help me out? What is it that I'm trying to do, and who can help me get to there? And if you don't have official factions or a face, those smaller faces of the community that are there for the new players to come in, that could be a big deterrent for players. So I do think that the community should be striving towards empowering players to form these official factions. Yeah, there's going to be unofficial groups out there, and we know who they are. And there's really good groups that are unofficial, but they're not going to get the face value of the community that the official faction is going to get. And so that's really what I feel the official factions can provide to the community. And also with that too is they need to be a quality product. You can't have people that are heading these factions that are not engaging with the community, that are not role playing, that, you know, without naming names, we know who they are. But these factions that are deterrent to that. And so by revamping this, I really hope that it highlights those factions and either forces them to change or fall by the wayside to enable new growth as well. Because there's some factions out there that at one point I would have liked to head up and build an official faction for this certain faction in the game, but I can't because there's already an official faction, and you know they're not doing much. So it's kind of a, you know, I feel like it's
Graveyard.
kind of graveyard. Yeah, just kind of, you know, fat
Mm.
that needs trim. So it's
Yeah,
good news.
it is something that should certainly be addressed is factions that absolutely add zero or almost nothing to the community, and they are unfortunately gatekeeping um, that area of role play because of where they stand and who they are, and because they can just death grip their officialdom. You know, they
Mhm.
keep getting warnings every once in a while. Looking at, excuse me, GMG. Sorry, I got a cold.
I was trying not to go there, but you went there.
Nah, I mean, I don't. It's not a secret, and it's not like I'm stabbing into them. It's just, something I many people have observed over many years. So
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, that's the best thing, and that's um yeah, that, and hopefully that gets looked at, because if it we are going to call this a role playing community, then role playing needs to be an aspect of official factions, and if you're not going to cut to par, then someone else needs to be doing it. And then with that too, I know a lot of the big complaints with official factiondom is the perks, is, you know, well, we'll provide this to the community, but what is the community going to provide to us? What's going to promote me to spend the time? Because it's a lot of time. And I'll tell you, I tried to restart Universal, and I've quit doing that. And the biggest part of that was And I don't know why this happened because I've never had this issue before. But when I got us on the tracker, and when I went to put us in to become official for the 3 months, I was looking at other examples, and I'm just seeing these walls of text, and I'm just thinking, I can't do this. There's no way. Not with what I just can't. So yeah. So overall, I feel like it's a really good thing that
I
official
think
factions.
also it's a really good thing that we have somebody like the Kusari involved in this process because he has a very unique faction and he has a decent success story on how you can make a unique faction, um, not profitable, but like enjoyable and exclusive and have the ability to get perks and stuff. So I think it's really cool that you're involved in that, Kusari.
Yeah, well, it is. I'm trying very, very hard not to um like not to try to change the OF rework or anything to benefit the Starfliers. I'm more so trying to change the faction or trying to update the faction where it can be successful in like post rework, like after it gets applied and everything.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's I'm hoping it continues to be official and everything. I'm extremely worried that it won't fit the mold and will just fall apart and then just not become official anymore. That's an extreme worry of mine, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
and that's good because a lot of groups don't do that. They have a hard time changing to the landscape, and there, of course, there's going to be changes in the community that the players aren't going to like. I mean, it seems like any change, there's an outfit of people that just don't like it, and sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for not so good reasons. But yeah, if you're in a faction leader and you're trying to keep your faction alive, changing, with the way that the game is mechanically going and the way the community is going, that's the best thing to do because it's just like the real world. You're gonna have the economy is gonna change. Even geography is going to change. It may change how you conduct your business. So that's really good to hear that you're willing to change, and maybe hopefully after this episode we'll get some new applications into the faction to keep it going. Um,
Yeah,
and
let's hope so.
and with that, personally, I have to ask, with especially with the POB stuff you got going on, is there currently a Starflyers logistics department, or do you have any aspirations for one?
A
Oh my
logistics
god.
department. Ugh.
Yeah,
He's trying to universalize the Starflies.
Yeah, he is.
I'm I'm
He's gonna make the Starflyers into a trucking company.
All right,
Universal
let
Starflyers
me
Corporation.
let me bring something up here, and this is how strict I am when it comes to the role play behind the Starflyers. Right, we
Uh,
started out with the Albatross transport in terms of like the named ship that we could use for the
mhm.
transports. It has 2,000 cargo capacity. Then at one point, I had an amazing idea to be like, let's see if we can increase that. So we did the role play. We submitted the faction perk request, and we got it up to 3,400. So we upgraded from the Albatross to the retrofit transport, the veterans package transport. So that was the Starflyers transport, was the unique veterans package one. Then I went, let's see if we can take this further. And we did roleplay. We submitted the perk request, and we got it upped to the Kajira. That's the 4,700 cargo Kashiro transport. So the
Nice.
Starflyers was flying almost 5Ks around.
Jeez.
And
Sounds like
then
shenanigans.
and that's and it's great is that if you look at the thread, I think it was called recently processed requests, I think, on the forums. I don't remember where it's located exactly, but there's a listing there that says the Starflyers can now use the Kajira in place of the retrofit transport. And at the time, I was just doing the copper iridium trade route, just like power trading. And I'm just sitting here just going, the Starflyers wouldn't use these ships. I'm spending too much time just power trading, and then I just requested just to go, hey, can I just get downgraded back to the Albatross because this is broken, busted, and the Starflies wouldn't have this. So this is how serious I am when it comes to like the roleplay behind the faction. Is that we went a little bit too far, or like too close to the sun, or however you want to phrase it, and I requested to bring us back down to ground.
No, that's good. Keep the focus on RP.
That's really awesome because so many people are I want, give me, but that's awesome that you're willing to say now this is too much. This doesn't make any sense in like a real world application. So that is awesome.
Yeah, like the biggest thing with the Starflies is that we are a small scale, like research and exploration group. Small scale. So if we're flying around almost 5Ks around, well, I have to pick one. It's either I'm small scale or I'm like a corporate entity. And I don't want to be a corporate entity because that's not who we are. So that's why I asked to have it downgraded. And then that's where my focus shifted from like changing lines to my ID. Or from that, sorry, it went from there to being like, okay, what else can I perk request? And that led to getting the infinite scanner, getting the custom player base. Where I'm working on currently a new starship scanner as well. I'm hoping to maybe reintroduce the survey modules again to have them do something. Like there's some ideas there that I want to explore, and that's where sort of a byproduct or a like a secondary goal of some sort is that like these new pieces of equipment are exclusive to the Starfliers, and that's the incentive for people to join so they can actually use these things. But the secondary goal is that these new pieces of equipment are to introduce just cool new shit into the game so people can just play around with it as just cool stuff in general. So that's where it's like people would go, oh, like I already have a barge and I already have all these ships decked out with all this stuff and jump drives and this and that, whatever. But then if you let the Starfliers cook and bring in even new cool gadgets, even new cool shit, and then it's like, oh, now there's more stuff. There's new things that we can now mess around with. Like that's what I'm trying to inject into the game here. So it's kind of two or triple fold here of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's really cool because that's the exploration aspect of Discovery, which funny enough, I don't know if that's the purpose of the name of the community being Discovery or what the deal is, but yeah, I feel like there's very little as far as discovering and exploration because after a new patch drops, after about a month, everyone pretty much knows what's out there, and so it'd be really cool if you and Starflyers can spearhead this effort to change even the game mechanics around to where there is profit to exploring, because especially if they add things into the game, even if it's on a weekly basis, where you do have to explore and go to different places constantly to get these whatever it is, whether it's a loot or maybe a rare resource or something, that'd be really cool. And then incorporating factions like Starflyers and even other players that look at Starflyers, and especially after they listen to this Rockstar podcast and say, oh, I really want to do something just like Starflyers are doing, and you've got other factions starting up. That'd be really cool to have that, because we have PvP factions, we have trading factions, or at least groups of people that go in and do that, but there's not really a whole lot of exploration, and I think it's gaining steam. So yeah, hope the trend keeps going that way. That'd be really cool.
They have introduced like I'm not sure if you know about this, but the collection cards. If you know about those ones,
what's that all about?
The devs have put in very hard to reach or out of the way places. They put in 10. They're effectively like collector's items in the game. They're all collector's cards, like trading cards kind of thing, and it's very, very hard. It's a little bit more difficult than normal to data mine them to try and figure out where they are, but they're hidden in the game in some wacko places, and just 10 spots, and you just have to like follow clues or follow environmental hazards or anything like that to find them. I've got
That's
a handful of
interesting.
them myself, but if they're not, I don't think they're in roleplay. It's more of just bragging rights, just to say, yes, I went that far and I found this thing. But
That
like I
reminds me
remember.
as a. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I remember for the previous episode, like one of the questions or one of the things we were talking about was like what elements and what extra bits they can put in terms of like sprucing up the exploration side. It's just adding more things into systems where people can discover it. And this, between then and now, that was one of the things they'd put in, was these like discoverable or collectible trading cards that you could find. And they are a giant pain in the ass to find. I'll say that.
Yeah, I bet. It kind of reminds me of when I was a kid. I collected Pokemon cards, and I never actually played the game, and I still don't know really how to play the game. But just collecting them, and you open the cards, and I got Charizard. I got the Charizard. Bragging rights.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's a little niche in Discovery for some of that, and I didn't know about this at all. So, I might have to pal around with you a little bit more to see if I can get my hands on some of these cards.
Yeah.
Now
I
the
got a
cards,
band.
does it hang out in your cargo space? If you get blown up, do they go away?
I haven't I haven't tried that yet because I don't want to risk losing them. But they hang out in your cargo hold, like,
Physical inventory. Yeah.
yeah. I do have a bounty for the Starfliers though. Like if other people have found them, I've got, money to give them for congratulating them for finding it. But we only got a handful of them, so nothing too big.
If you don't
Not-
mind, once we're done with this episode, once we post it up and stuff, if you could post a screenshot of one looks like it, if you're allowed to, and if you can, post what one looks like. That'd be really cool to see what they look like, because I have no idea what they look like or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, as far as these systems and where they're at, is it like, could they be found anywhere, including even places like New York, or is it typically like Omicrons or like Uncharted systems?
All over the place.
Okay.
So let me just look at the list I have so far.
And so while you're doing that, real quick, this would be really fun, especially for Navy factions or even like police factions, because you could role play as if you're on patrol, but you get 2 or 3 buddies together and just be searching around for these cards, but you role play as you're on patrol. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that is kind of neat.
Yeah, very much so. I don't have I was thinking if I had a screenshot of one of these so far, but I don't think I do. That's okay.
Yeah, or we can meet in con, and you could just trade one over to me, and I'll give it right back.
And then he'll
I
just
swear.
disappear. Yeah.
That's all good. There is one thing too I did want to share as a more of a follow-up or an extension to the whole, like, what can official factions do and things like that. And one of the other cool things I wanted to introduce into the game that has come from Starfliers that people can use, this won't be something that is exclusive to us, other people would be able to use it, was that I'm currently in the process of working with somebody to model a custom ship.
Nice.
Okay.
What kind of ship?
It is a freighter.
Cool.
Now I'm wondering if I can find this thing here. Only if you guys want to have a look at it while I'm talking about it. This is if I can find here it is. Where am I posting this, by the way? VC text, I guess.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Just the visual render spoiler there. But this is the Starfliers ship. This is the Starfliers, like, it's not just a Starflyer light fighter. This is like, in terms of like the exploration, in terms of just flying around and like exploring space and just meeting up with people and whatever else, like what would be the ship the Starflyers would be flying if all of that were to happen, and this is
Nice.
that ship.
That's cool.
Yeah, this looks really neat.
And the funny thing is, when I was trying to design it myself before, handing it off to the ship modeler, was that you can see that it looks like a Corvo with like the double wings at the back. You can see it takes elements from the Albatross because it has like the cargo pod underneath with like the rib cage, like holding it in with little bits on the other side. Yeah. And then the front of it, I like the Kali light fighter. I think that's just the best light fighter in the game in terms of its looks. So the front of the ship looks like a bit of a Kali light fighter. But it's a freighter. All in all together, it's a freighter, and it's got a little radar dish at the front, which I find very cute.
Yeah, it adds a little touch to the Starflyers touch. Now the cargo pod, is it just like the transports? You can swap it out to whatever pod you want?
This one, no, that's going to be fixed. Because I think there's going to be a transport rework where cargo pods and destructible bits are going to be on transports for you to shoot off cargo without killing the ship. So I think this is just going to make this more friendlier to adjust when that rework comes around.
Nice. If you can hit it, because freighters anymore, man, they're so fast.
Yeah. But like in terms of...
And with you being in Australia, that ping, you'll be somewhere 1 second, then 5K away the other second.
Natural
that's
defense.
Right.
Get the download going.
But just more cool stuff to bring into the game, and this is another one of those things too. So it's like you say before when I say like Starflyer's best faction as like a halfway jokey thing. It's also because halfway serious thing because I'm really trying to bring in cool shit into this game from my side.
I don't see any other faction doing what you're doing, especially with the community in mind. So this is awesome. And I also like too access granted to George E. Rolfe, Deep Space Engineering. Because that's who's a Barrier. Barrier's a good guy. Yeah, he's trying to get DSE up and rolling. So that's really cool that you're working with him and get this thing started, especially with other factions included too.
Yes, I'd like to see a Kishiro official faction. I'm not going to lie. Out of all the factions, I want to see Kishiro.
Yeah. Why's that?
They like what they work on in terms of, at least at the moment, like jump drives, in terms of being like an actual manufacturing company of technology and things like that. It's kind of similar to Ajera in a sense, but I think Kishiro just sounds better. And also Kusari never gets a bit of like activity, and I feel like Kishiro would fill in that void. So I don't know. Just out of all the factions, I just want to see a Kishiro official faction again.
Okay.
That would be
That's just me.
It's hard to keep that faction alive. I've seen it come and go many times, unfortunately.
That and Samora. I've seen Samora is either here or they're not.
Yeah, Samora, like its latest days, it was always just mining focused, and what was about it. But anyway, I think we've drawn this episode out quite a bit, so we should probably start wrapping that up.
Yeah, we can start wrapping it up. Just one last thing I wanted to touch on a little bit is, which I think from talking about, especially Starflyers and what you're wanting to do for the community. I think you've pretty much answered it, but I did want to touch on you being an admin. What motivated you to being an admin? I know there was a stint that you went away for a bit and then you came back. So just kind of talk about a little bit about that. What drives you to be an admin? Also creating these tutorials and guides. A lot of these, if you look in help and support, a lot of the guides and support, especially POB stuff, are things that you've created and are maintaining. So talk a little bit about that and what motivates you for that.
It's, I don't know, I guess helping people in a sense. I mean, having things documented and having a level of access where I'm able to like get the information to then make the guides and things. Ultimately, just having things documented would help everybody a lot. And when I became a moderator, that allowed me to do a few things. Becoming then an admin to, of course, like help with requests and processing of things and things like that. I mean, that comes with it. But then from there, I was able to do a lot more in terms of the whole updating of the guides and things. The player-based one way back when was a giant pain in the ass for me to really fix up. But that was a huge overhaul when that was published. But yeah, it was a lot of the stuff on the website is outdated, and I work a job where we rely on like an encyclopedia to be updated so we can do our jobs effectively. And having this be a very I don't know how you did it, very sort of bad mimic in a sense, like a bad version of that same thing. I want to try and prove this place with what I know about my own job, and that's why me working on the guides and stuff is why I want to get it done, because it benefits everybody.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And especially you touched on a little bit about the player requests and kind of granting the thing that the players have been working for and the culmination of their work, and then they finally get it. I imagine that's a really fun part of the aspect of being an admin. My one thing that I wanted to kind of say or ask, as I know I've mentioned it a few times on the forum. Some players have had some disgruntled or frustrations. You'd put in requests and not hear anything back for maybe many months or a year, or even never hear anything back. I've mentioned about creating almost like a sub admin tier staff member where somebody like me, where I don't have a lot of free time anymore. I'm more of a family man than I was a few years ago. So free time is really a scarce resource for me. But I'd like to help out somehow. So don't give me all the access of an admin, but give me jobs. Similar to when I was working with Zentor a little bit when he was a economy dev. I went uncredited, but I helped him out a lot. Whether it's looking up info cards, brainstorming with them, talking about things, coming up with ideas. I'd love doing that. I don't care if I'm credited or not, but I kind of unofficially filled like a sub developer role in that point. But has there been any discussion or any ideas thrown around at all about having more players helping out with maybe some of the mundane tasks that would free admins like yourself up to do more player requests or more things that are more influential to the community, and so that we can help out? Has there been any talks like that?
Not really, because I'm pretty sure the entire team would say the exact same thing I'm about to say. Was that just raise your hand and go, hey, like, what do you guys need doing? It's a similar sort of aspect or a similar sort of thing when people in the general Discord go, oh, give me a developer role and I'll fix up the guides for you. It's like, well, not really. Like, just publish your own guide and then link it to the admins and go, hey, this is what I've made for you guys. It's what someone's done with the shipbuilding guide. Like, someone went out of their way to make their own shipbuilding guide. And then people are now referencing that with everything. You don't need to be a label to do that. You can just simply do the work yourself. So it's I don't know if that answers your question or anything, but it's simply just raising your hand and just going, hey, I've got this cool thing I want to submit. Hope it helps, kind of thing.
No, that makes sense. It almost sounds like what you're saying is show that you're wanting to do the work. It doesn't have to be a label. You could help out the community. For a while, I was trying to be like the unofficial greeter of Discovery. Anytime a new player came in, I tried to be right there and, hey, welcome to the community kind of thing. And not needing a role for that, but it's helping the community. So no, I like the message. So I guess if anyone out there is wanting to to be a developer or to be an admin, sure, you could raise your hand and say, put a title to my name, but doing something to show that you're wanting to help out the community, if that's the role that you want, would also be a help. But also just raising your hand, that would be a big help. And so
Yeah,
that's a good
absolutely.
message.
Putting forth the work is definitely the best approach.
Good deal.
One of the other things is that I have a flood thread where I just put templates and other bits and pieces that they're public, like anyone can view them and use them or whatever. But someone saw one of them and was like, "Oh, are you going to publish the codename weapons locations, like the lootable codenames, like all their locations?" And I've gone, "Well, no, I just built the template, built the skeleton of the post because someone else was like the other mods were just going to take care of it at some point." And then this person was like, "Well, I already have all the locations here. Like I go out and go find them for myself." And I've gone, "Cool. Feel free to use the template, go fill it out yourself, and then just publish it." And they did that. Like you don't need to be a dev or an admin or a moderator to do it if you have the information already. If someone else already has like the template skeleton to fill in all the details, then just work together and do it. You just don't need to have like I said, a label, like a moderator or dev to do that. If you have information, just put it together and publish it.
Awesome. I like that message. That's awesome. The last thing that I have to say is just more of a FYI sidebar. Going back to the POBs on holiday thread, Stellar Vis posted about not going to stay up for the Orthodox Christmas, which ends, I looked it up, January 7th. So just to throw that out there. I don't know if the admin team might want to get together and talk about that a little bit, but it looks like there's still some religions or sects that are still celebrating and maybe not able to return. So just wanted to throw that out there. Other than that, that's all I got. Jeff, you got anything?
Not at the moment. Everything that's, I mean, I've enjoyed interacting with Starflyers when I've come across them in the past, and I know myself, they're working with factions. You're kind of leading the way, so you're like, I model some of my things after you when I'm looking at doing special things with factions. So thank you for that. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. Love the faction.
Jeff will make a really nice song jingle for the Starflyers.
Yeah, that's after I make the Starflyers militant ID. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be.
Oh, you should make a Starflyers PvP jingle.
Oh, right.
We will slaughter you by the masses.
I'm so
Oh my
sorry.
God.
I forgot to answer your question from before, Stugar. I think I went on a bit of a tangent before. So I'll answer this one and then we'll wrap things up. You asked if there was a like a logistics side to Starflyers, and I went on the tangent about the increasing of cargo capacity and then asking to have it, brought back to the original one. Feel free to, if you're comfortable with just carrying 2,000 cargo units of stuff around, then we do, yes.
So then, do you mostly rely on freelancers and contract jobs then to supply, or do you keep everything in house?
Like to supply the base?
Yeah, like if I had an Indy 5K, would you welcome that to supply your base, or would you prefer to have it more as a role play contract or a like an in-house supply?
I'm in a unique position where my player base being core 5, when you reach core 5, the whole wear and tear aspect gets turned off. So you don't have to deliver the repair materials. It's only just then the food, oxygen, water you got to take care of. But then you're able to, after some special roleplay request, the turning off of the crew aspect. I have done that as well. So my base is completely freestanding. I don't need to supply it to keep it alive.
Do you fabricate anything on your base?
Yeah, my scanners.
Scanners. Okay. So if you need suppliers for that, to haul in the materials to create the scanners, do you prefer that in house, or is it okay if rando 5K says, hey, there's profit to be made here at this POB, and I'll drop some supplies?
We tend to keep it in-house because we're not mass reducing it. We just build them when we need them.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. Good info. Zentor, if you got anything, or else wrap us up.
Yeah, so this has been a really unique experience to learn about a player who's really shaped um, a niche role in the game, and I have been happy that we've been able to re-record this episode. So thank you, Kusari, for coming on to the podcast. And I think this will be all for today. So see you guys in space.
Fingers crossed. Hope this recording doesn't get scrambled.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem.
Yep, for sure. Holla.